welcome to this episode of Ask Amy. Today, we're on location. We're at Upton Electrical Contracting. Our guest today, Vincent Upton, the owner. Thanks so much for letting us come to your place.
Absolutely.
To talk all about generators.
Yes.
We picked this segment to talk all about generators because I hear so many of you with questions after this huge power outage we just went through. People are thinking, hey, I need to buy one, or I need to upgrade, or I don't want to live through that again. That was miserable, having no power for 11 days. Have you been really busy right now?
Yes, we've been very busy, especially since the middle of May, the first storm that came through.
And are you hearing these same questions? Do you have a lot of customers who didn't have generators, who want them, or sort of what are you seeing?
Yes, we are getting more calls about whole home generators and the portable interlock installations.
Yeah, so we're standing in front of, here in your shop, a Generac whole home generator. I mean, this one's huge. I want to talk about this type, but then also the portable generators that I think a lot of people, maybe somebody had them in their garage. And if you didn't, or if they had one in their garage and they figured, hey, I need a new one, questions about what we should be getting. First, we can start talking brands. This is a Generac, but there are a lot of different brands on the market right now.
That's correct. Yeah, Generac is the most common brand at the moment. There are other brands, Kohler, Briggs & Stratton, but this one is the most sold and most common.
You know, I was telling you that I thought, putting in a whole home standby generator, that was like a $25,000, $30,000 investment. But then I talked to somebody recently who said, oh, we put one in our home. And I know it varies on the size of your home, but put one in for like $13,000. And I was like, I didn't think that was possible. It's a big investment, but that's about on par with what you're seeing?
That's correct. Your basic installs for a whole home could be between $11,000 and $13,000.
Between $11,000 and $13,000.
That's correct.
Obviously, there's less manual labor to worry about. If I put in the whole home standby generator, I'm actually paying that extra cost to power my entire home, and then I don't have to worry about some of these other like maintenance items with the portable one?
That's correct. You still have the maintenance you have to keep up with the home standby as well as the portable.
Let's go in there. Let's first, before we get to maintenance, let's first talk about how somebody decides. I mean, I don't know if you have customers who ask you, like, hey, what do we need here? Like, what should I get?
The variables are people's age. You don't really want elderly people lugging around a big, large portable generator.
If it's going to be unwieldy for them to pull it out and do all that.
That's correct. It's less less maintenance on the homeowner.
Yeah.
For the whole home.
Okay.
For the portable generators, you have to start them up yourself. You have to maintain them yourself. The whole home generator, they do their own weekly startup. Just about every brand does that. You don't have to lug it around and start it up on your own.
Yeah.
It does it on its own. It runs for about 12 to 15 minutes on its own, and then it shuts off on its own.
Every week?
That's correct.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And then the portable generator is definitely more labor intensive. When we talk about people buying, let's just start with generators. How do I know what size I need? I mean, you see them anywhere from 3,500 watts. So I was asking you, and this does involve some math. So we will put some numbers on the screen so you understand this. But I said, okay, so I pick out. I say during this last storm, it was really hot. I want to run, say you have two ACs, one for an upstairs and the other for a downstairs. I want at least one floor in my home to have an AC. How do I know what size generator I need to run that?
You'll need to look at the nameplate rating on your AC compressor outside.
Okay.
You will have to do some math. Typically, a 4 and 5 ton AC unit will need a minimum 9,000 watt generator. You also need to look at the peak watts. You want a minimum 9,000 running watts.
Okay.
There are factors. Some of those generators may not start a 4 and 5 ton unit, but there are components you can install to help alleviate the overcurrent issue.
Yeah.
Basically, shutting down the generator by overloading it. You can install what we call a soft start. They're a little expensive. They're not very difficult to install, but it slowly starts the compressor, so your starting amps isn't as high.
Okay.
So it's less work for the generator to start up that AC compressor.
So if you had this, what you called it, a soft start
yes.
Device, then you could get away with a smaller wattage generator.
You can
powering your AC.
You can, but it is still recommended at least to run your AC at least a 9,000.
Okay.
Watt. 8,000 watt For anything below a 4-ton,
Uh-huh.
an 8,000 watt it will work, but anything above that is recommended a 9,000.
Okay, that's very useful information. So if you've got a 4 or 5 ton AC, central AC in your home, which is common,
Correct.
then you need at least a 9,000 watt generator.
That's correct.
And so talk about, I've heard people talking about transfer switches during all of this. And that is basically, if I don't want to run that extension cord for my portable generator in my backyard or wherever we put it safely away from my home, then I can hook this portable generator up to my breaker box, but only if I have an electrician come and put in a transfer switch, or there's something else that you recommend?
Right now, what we're transitioning into is installing mechanical interlocks.
A mechanical interlock.
It is a device that you install on the dead front of your breaker box, and it allows you to shut your main breaker off, and it'll slide down, and then you can turn your breaker for your generator on. So this prevents you from having the main breaker on and backfeeding the power grid and causing damage or injury to a lineman.
Which is, it's mostly a safety thing. I mean,
That's
that
correct.
sounds horrible, because we know we had linemen out everywhere working on power lines.
That's
and
correct.
without that, you could actually feed power into it and the line could be energized where they think it's dead.
Even just for a split second, yes.
Really?
That's
Okay.
correct.
So then this mechanical interlock, so I would be buying a portable generator, a mechanical interlock, this soft start device.
Correct.
I mean, what are we looking at for portable generators? Say I did go with that 9,000 watt one with these devices. What am I looking at?
You can to install the mechanical interlock in an inlet can run between $400 and $600. That doesn't include the generator. Doesn't include the cord. You add a soft start in there, that's going to add another $300 or $400. But you can get a cord from Amazon. They range from, depending on the length of the cord, they can range from $50 up to $300 to $400.
Okay.
And then the generator, a good one, can range between $2,000 and $4,000 for a 9,000 watt.
For a 9,000 watt. This is all really good information. We're also going to put that math formula that we were talking about, because trust me, you don't want to hear it here. You want to see that, but we'll put that in our show notes so that you can go over and how to make sure that you've got a generator large enough to power your refrigerator or power your central AC, at least one of them. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I've had a lot of people reach out to us about generators that they had purchased, just a year or 2 years ago that stopped working. So I want you to kind of talk about common reasons why generators fail and what we should be doing to make sure that they're running when we need them. We'll be right back. Welcome back to this episode of Ask Amy. Today we're talking about all things generators, buying a new one or maybe upgrading since this last power outage. It's on a lot of people's minds. So our guest today is Vincent Upton, the owner of Upton Electrical Contracting. Thank you so much for having us today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I was hearing from a lot of people whose generator didn't make it through this entire length of the power outage. Maybe it ran for a couple hours, a day, and then it stopped working. And at the time, you've got a hot house, you can't really troubleshoot it. Electricians are really busy, or your generator company can't tell you exactly what's going on. What are some things that people may not realize they need to be doing to keep their generator in good working order?
For portable generators, you want to make sure your gas is fresh, or at least have the additive, the stabilizer. You don't want to store it for large periods of time.
What do you say is it? So, like in May, we had that outage and I might have put in, 2 gallons in there, and then you didn't use all that. It's not a good idea to just roll it back into your garage without letting that fuel burn off.
That's correct. What you want to do is, when you're turning off your generator and you're going to store it, you want to turn the fuel switch off and let the generator run until the gasoline is completely out of the system. And then if you store it, you do want to add the stabilizer. Storing it for a few months, it is okay. It's when you start going into
a year, 2 years.
That's correct.
Is a problem. And what happens? It just is it get gummy, or the?
That's correct. It can, but gasoline does have a shelf life.
Okay.
It's not they don't. It can't just sit there forever. It's got to be used.
And what you talked about, adding this additive, if, for example, you do put it away. In mine, I drained the fuel out of it. That's an option. Is that just as good as letting it burn off?
That's correct. If you have the proper equipment to drain it and proper storage equipment, yes, you can drain it. It's a little. It can be dangerous, but as long as you're careful, then yes, you can drain it.
Okay.
And that will help.
And so if you don't, you can buy this stabilizer if you want to store it with that in there and just pour it also in the same gas tank with the gas.
That's correct. That's correct.
How long does that usually buy you?
I've seen it last for a year. Anything above that, it's going to be kind of sketchy. It's kind of hit or miss.
So number one, when you're done with that generator, do not store it with the fuel still in it. If you do, make sure you add a stabilizer. I had people this time saying that they didn't know that they needed to change the oil. I didn't know that either on your generator.
That's correct. Portable and whole house generators, you need to change the oil. It's good to stop either one, but every few days, shut it down, check the oil, make sure you don't need to add any. Every generator has a certain hours that it needs to be run before you change the oil.
Look at the manual.
That's correct. It will be in the manual. For this type, for a brand new one, you want to change the oil after the first 25 hours.
Wow.
That's their manufacturer.
After it's running the first 25 hours, you said that's like the break-in period.
That's the break-in oil change. After that, it's every 200 hours.
Okay.
So if you're running for 8 days, you need to change the oil.
Yeah.
But you don't want to run it for 8 days straight. You do want to stop it every few days and check the oil. It's very important.
So it's just like the oil on our car. If it runs dry, then it's going to seize, or
That's
if
correct.
the motor's going to stop.
That's correct. They do have, all the brands do have a oil low pressure sensor. If it does get too low, it will shut the generator off.
Okay.
As long as the sensor's working. But regardless, it's still good to stop and check the oil.
And you said it's fairly simple on the portable generator, most of them, to change it yourself.
It is. All it is you unscrew the plug and let the oil drain out, put the plug back in, and just fill it in the oil.
With fresh oil.
That's correct.
And then look at your manual to know what type, or are they all pretty much the same type of oil?
That's correct. For down here, the most common oil for any generator is 5W30.
Okay.
It has more of a wide range of hot and cold usage. But 10W30 will work. Some portable generator manufacturers require the 30 way.
Okay, so look at yours, and also look at that manual to know how often it says in those portable generators you should be changing it.
That's correct. It will be. It should be in the owner's manual.
So when we do that, the other thing that people have said, and it's like, oh no, because I think the generator at my house, the portable generator, we got after Ike, and I was under the impression that I was supposed to be starting it up every year, and we haven't even done that. You said it's far more often than that.
In my opinion, you need to at least do it once a month.
Once a month.
That's correct.
If
you want to make sure that your generator is up and running for any power outage,
when you need it.
That is my recommendation.
So you don't need to plug anything into it. You're just pulling it out, getting it safely away from everything, and starting it up and letting it run for how long?
A good 10, 15 minutes.
Okay.
That's it.
And then putting it back.
That's correct.
You said that there are one common reason that sometimes generators shut off has something to do with something on a gas cap. Can you talk about that?
Most common, your inverter generators have a vent on the gas cap. If it's closed or if it's clogged, your generator will only run for 5 to 10 minutes and shut off. And it's a common issue.
How do I fix that? Can I fix that
myself?
Yes.
Make sure there's nothing blocking it. It needs to freely move.
Okay.
The air vent. You can see it. It will tell you on off. There are arrows. And if it's clogged, you can actually rinse it out, let it dry.
On the gas cap.
That's correct.
Okay.
You can if it's clogged, but typically the common error is it's just not open.
And a lot of people wouldn't know that. They'd just be
correct.
like, "Hey, it stopped," and think,
"That's correct."
What the heck's wrong?
It's a very, very common issue.
Yeah.
The vent cap is closed on the inverter generators.
You mentioned something about resetting that a lot of people might not also realize. If it's a new generator, that sometimes resetting it or knowing how to reset it. What do you mean by that?
Just about every brand has alarms. It'll shut down the generator if something is wrong. For instance, on a Generac, a lot of times it's just a computer glitch. The homeowner needs to know and understand how to reset the alarms when they do happen. There is a procedure you follow to reset the alarm and to restart the generator.
And usually that is in that manual I'm supposed to be reading?
It is in the manual as well. When we do a whole house install, we go over with the customer the procedure to restart the generator if there is a fault or an alarm.
So they understand how to do it.
That's correct.
Themselves.
That's correct. Yes, and it's something we can also do over the phone.
Okay.
So
that's helpful.
correct.
I mean, whenever you can't make it out to their house, but you can walk them through the steps.
That's
and then we kind of skipped over whole house generators when we were talking about oil changes. But with this type, is this really something that you need a service, somebody to come and do for you to change the oil?
It is recommended. There are maintenance contracts out there. You don't have to do a maintenance contract as long as you keep track of when your maintenance is due. You do want to keep up to date. You do want the oil changes to be done when needed. You want to change the spark plugs, the air filters when recommended. That will keep your generator running in tip-top shape.
Yeah, it sounds like a car, Vincent. I mean, now it sounds like we're talking about, maintaining something about the price of a car. And I mean, when those days happen and that power goes out, you really want to make sure, or you'll wish that you had done all of these things then.
That's correct. The homeowner does need to be aware of how to at least change the oil.
Yeah.
Because as you can see what happened in the past few months, every generator company was just bogged down. They can't get to everybody, especially the oil changes. I do strongly recommend my customers understand how to at least change their oil.
Right.
In cases like this.
Okay.
Because if they run for 8 days, you got to change your oil.
Right.
So you have to stop it and change it. There's not a generator company out there that can keep up with that type of demand.
All right, good to know. And we said check the manual for how many hours, how often you do need to change the oil. But on average, I heard 100 hours somewhere.
You can. The manufacturers do vary. This particular one is every 200 hours.
Okay.
After the initial break-in oil change, you can do it sooner.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
But every 200 hours, that's when you typically do a full maintenance. That's your oil filter, air filter, your spark plugs.
Got it.
And your oil as well.
All right, I hope you've learned everything you need to know about generators. When we come back, we're going to switch it up and we're talking about other items in your home that you can buy to sort of harden your home and save your appliances from these power surges that we saw when the power comes back on. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to this Ask Amy. Our guest today is Vincent Upton, the owner of Upton Electrical Contracting. Thank you so much. We've talked a lot about generators, both whole house generators and the portable ones. But a lot of these devices that I heard about, I mean, certainly I've heard of surge protectors, but I'd never heard of a whole home surge protector until this most recent outage event. What does that do? Are they expensive? Do you recommend them?
I always recommend any type of surge protection. Not only is it required by code now for us to install on new installations.
Oh, really?
Yes, that's correct. But any amount of surge protection is always recommended. Your whole house surge protection, I wouldn't just stop there. If you have appliances, home computers, you still want to plug them into those surge protected outlets as well. You mentioned that you had a refrigerator go out. They do make individual surge protectors for individual outlets, and those can be helpful as well. I
mean, Vincent, I will tell you. So in a random power outage in 22, it wasn't something big like this where everyone lost power. It was just out for a couple hours. I don't know the cause, but when all the power came back on in my house, my refrigerator did not, and it fried the motherboard. And I paid to have that repaired and pushed the refrigerator back in without putting in a surge protector. So this time, 2 years later, the same thing happened.
Okay.
So now I've purchased, it was like $8.99 on Amazon, just the surge protector to plug in my new refrigerator.
Correct.
When I get it.
Yes.
But you're saying even if you have or even if you have the whole home surge protector, you should individually put them on these, appliances or devices that you want to protect.
It's recommended, yes. But lightning strikes or trees falling on power lines can still cause catastrophic power surges that the surge protectors cannot handle.
Even a whole home surge protector?
That's correct.
Wow.
That's correct.
I mean, I know that sounds so frustrating to so many people because we've talked about these power outages that are happening, like the wind blows and nobody can explain why it went out, but it did. And I know I've tried to file claims with CenterPoint and they're like, sorry, we're not covering the new motherboard on your refrigerator.
That's
so
correct.
You're sort of either paying for this protection up front or you're going to pay for new electronics and devices and appliances down the road.
That's correct. But the surge protectors are recommended.
Okay.
That's
all right.
correct.
So, and they're not expensive to go out and get those. About how much am I looking at though for the whole home? I can't do that myself. You need an electrician for that.
That's correct. There's a variety of products out there that range from your cheaper ones to your more expensive. The more expensive one you buy, of course, the better they are.
Yeah.
There are some out there that will, if they do fail, that you can make a claim through them. Yes.
With that company.
That's correct.
That's very good to know. So when you're shopping around for them, keep that in mind.
That's correct.
One other thing that we didn't talk about in the segment is, I know we're going to go back to generators quickly because a lot of people are seeing tri-fuel or multiple ways to power your generator. When you buy them these days, I know that there's some on the market that you could hook it to your natural gas line at home. You could power it with propane or gasoline.
That's correct.
Are there good and bad things about that, or what do you recommend?
The gasoline, you'll get more watts out of your portable generator. The downfall is you have to go around try to find gasoline if you use all of your gas. You can install a quick connect on your gas meter, your natural gas meter, and run your generator off natural gas. You will lose some watts, and then the propane is the same. You won't get the watts that is labeled on the generator. You have to look at your manual and see how many watts your generator can handle under natural gas and propane versus gasoline.
So you get the most bang for your buck on your portable generators running them with gasoline.
That's correct.
They'll give you more wattage as opposed to natural gas. And then if I am buying the natural gas, I'm hooking up the transfer switch, but it's a portable generator. I, as a homeowner, not an electrician, not a plumber, I am going to be able to go out, like when my power goes out, and hook that up again, like running off of the natural gas?
Yes, we typically put what we call just a quick connect. You pull back on a lever and you just plug it in.
Okay.
And it will not pop out if you pop it in. And the same thing, you just pull back on it and it'll release.
Okay.
You'll have a port at the gas meter, and you'll have a port on your generator that does the exact same thing. And then you just plug in your electrical cord into the generator.
Okay. We are just about out of time, but if you could tell everybody out there who, just went through multiple days of no power and they're trying to figure out ways to make sure they're not stuck in the same situation next time, what advice would you give people? I guess your best piece of advice. Just
make sure on your portable generators you got fresh gas. That you do run it, in my opinion, at least once a month to make sure it's up and running. On your home generators, you want to make sure that your battery terminals are clean. That is one of the most common issues with the home generator. Make sure that you're up to date on your maintenance, and keep track of when your oil needs to be changed. All right. Vincent Upton, thank you so much for letting us come talk to you about all this today. And again, if you check out the show notes on our website, click2houston.com, we'll share the information about how to check that you get a large enough generator to run the appliances and the things you want to run. Have a great day.